Hey party people, PandaBrady here, and it's time for another Panda Just Saw. And last night I saw It Chapter 2. Yeah, pardon me. So, uh, where to begin? Acting's pretty good. The characters could use some work. Well, a couple of characters, anyways. The effects all look very cartoony, but I think that's kind of the point. The there weren't a lot of scares this time. It was really just wacky monster kind of stuff. And the ending was kind of a letdown. I mean, it's cool and all. It's better than the original ending, the 1990s ending. But there's just so much they could have done with it. I'm not hating the movie. I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it. And would recommend people go seeing it. I will likely go see it again, and it's almost 3 hours long. A lot of what I say is probably mirrored by other reviewers, but yeah, so it hits a lot of the same flags as the original, and actually adds a bit from the book. They've got the homosexual couple that end up getting one of them dismembered and murdered by, well, it's supposed to be a bunch of ruffians from Derry, rednecks, drunk, whatever. These ones are just like thuggy guys, and one of them's even like a teenager. I do like the joke that they have near the beginning, because I caught it immediately. I was like, oh, they're gay. Yeah, so one of them gets killed, and then Mike's all like, oh no, I have to tell the others. Hey, Bill? Yeah, it's back. Get to Derry. Alright, I'm a failing actor. I'm a successful author turned movie writer, and my movies are doing poorly because the endings suck. And guess what? I think that's supposed to be a meta joke. Then it's like, hey, Richie, or no, Eddie, it's back. It is. Oh, I crashed my car. Don't worry, I'll be there. Richie, hey, I'm a comedian. What's up? It really shows in his performance too. Bill Hader, best part of the movie. But yeah, he's a comedian. He's doing all right for himself. He forgets his joke because he's, thinking about what's going to happen soon. He has to go back to Derry. Jerry. He has to go back to Derry. Of course, there's also Bev, who is in an abusive relationship. And why can't I think of his name? Fat kid. I feel bad for forgetting his name. He's an architect, and he's, a lot more chiseled and supposed to be good looking, muscular, lost all the weight. And then finally Stan, and Stanley's like, nope, not going back there, slitting my wrists. Bye. I'm making this a lot more humorous than it should be. But yeah, so they all go to Derry. They're all eating at a Chinese restaurant, kind of like in the original miniseries. And they're all having a good time. They're catching up with each other, and then the fortune cookies come, and they open it, and they're like, I don't think this place knows how fortune cookies work. Mine just says cut. And then it turns out they all have like one word to a message that shows that Stanley didn't make it. And they're like, what's going on? Who did this? why is this happening? And then more fortune cookies break open, and they're tiny little monsters. There's a little baby-faced, like, scorpion fly thing. I think it's a locust. Could be a reference to Abaddon, for any, for any people that look into mythology. But yeah, there's an eyeball monster and a few other things, and they end up causing a scene trying to kill the monsters, and waitress comes in and it's like, is everything alright? And they're like, check please. As they're leaving, this little kid who you think it's just a throwaway gag because he's like, the fun's just beginning. And it turns out it's a line from Richie's show, but you think, oh, it's just a throwaway for them to be like, oh, it's it. Oh, wait, no, it's not it. But he turns out to be a big part of the story. So yeah, they all head back to their townhouse, and because that's where they're staying, and some of them are like, that's it, I'm packing up, I'm leaving, I don't want to deal with this clown anymore, I'm just leaving. And then Bill goes with Mike to the library, and Mike explains the lore of Pennywise and how the Chippewa people have a ritual that they can perform for all 7 of them, or all the Losers Club, to seal away the monster and blah blah blah. And he has this like trip to convince him. They go back, they're like, hey, we know how to beat them. They all basically band together, and they're like, okay, we each have to find a token or something. It's MacGuffin. It's a MacGuffin. It really is. It's MacGuffin side quest. Go. All of us split up and find what we're looking for. This is after they find their old clubhouse, and they find one for Stanley, which is a hairnet. So they each go off, and it's like, oh, Bev is back at her old house, and it's the scene from the trailer. She gets the old poem from Fat Kid that ends up being, that she thinks Bill wrote. But yeah, she gets it, and the old lady, of course, does her whole thing from the trailer where it's like, are you still Daddy's little girl, Beverly? Well, are you? And then charges out at her as this monster-y version of herself. Bev runs out, and it turns out that the entire apartment building has been abandoned for a while and looks like it's falling apart. And then we've got Bill, who's out and about, and he sees his old bike in an antique shop. He goes in, and he's like, hey, Stephen King, can I buy this from you? Well, sure you can. You're an author, right? You've got plenty of money. That'll be $300 for that bike. All right, I'll pay for it. Jeez. By the way, your endings suck. Yeah, I know, so do yours. Oh, no, I'm kidding. That doesn't happen. But he takes off, and he's riding around Derry, and then he hears a voice from the sewer, of course. Goes down, and he sees Georgie holding the boat, and he's like, Georgie, I'm here. Come closer, you can grab the boat. Okay, I've got it. A bunch of hands on my arm. And I figured like Pennywise would like rip off his arm or something at that point, but no, he gets the boat back, and he comes out. He's yelling at the storm drain. It reminds me of that meme going around with the cat at the table. And the little kid's there again. He's like, what are you doing? And of course Bill freaks out the kid by going, whatever you do, stay away from that sewer. And the kid's like, do you hear voices down there? And he's like, why, do you? And he's like, no, but I hear them down the drain. It's kids laughing, and sometimes there's a clown. Yeah. Listen, kid, whatever you do, get out of this town. Get your parents. Get them far away from here. Run as fast as you can. You're starting to freak me out, mister. I'm going to the fair. Bye. And that's literally what happens there. Then we go to Richie's story. Is it Richie's then? Oh well, I'll just go through each of them. So we get to Richie's story, and it's like, oh, he goes to this old theater because he used to play Street Fighter there, because that's where the arcade was, and while he was there, he played against this kid that turned out to be the bully's little cousin, and the kid's like, hey, you're pretty good at this game. I better go. And then he's like, wait, how about one more round? I've got another quarter. I'd like to play with you some more. And the kid takes it as him being gay and coming on to him and yells to the bully, and the bully's like, get out of here, you fairy. And so he runs off, and he picks up a token from there before he leaves. And then he has this little scene where Pennywise shows up and controls Paul Bunyan statue. This Paul Bunyan statue that attacks him, and then he's like, "It's not real. It's not real. Oh, it's not real. Cool." But Pennywise does this little floaty sing. You may have seen in the trailer. He's like, I know your secret, your dirty little secret. And it's like, ooh, this is creepy, because like everybody there at the park is frozen, and then when you start singing, everybody's just waving their hands side to side in time to the song they start singing. And I'm like, oh, this is a good creep. But yeah, he manages to get away. Then we have Eddie, who apparently has had like a horror event happen to him when he was little, or when he was a kid, where at the pharmacy he goes to pick up a prescription for his inhaler because he's got asthma. And he goes down into the basement of the place, where he finds out his mom is like tied to a bed, and there is something down there that's trying to attack her. Turns out to be like a leper or something like that. And then he runs off as a kid after his mom gets attacked. I'm not sure if that means that she died then, or if like it's a little confusing, but Eddie's real wife, just like in the book, is just like his mother. But yeah, while he's down there, he gets attacked by the leper while he's an adult, and he starts to choke the leper. He's like, yeah, I got you. You're just weak, pathetic, blah blah blah. And then the leper vomits on him, and it's like, ah, gross. That's hilarious. But we don't have a story for Mike told in this, at least. Later on, it's revealed, oh, I kept the rock that you hit the bully with all those years ago, Bev. After Eddie, it's the fat kid who turns out that when he was little, I keep saying when he was little, when he was a kid, he was in some kind of science lab or something like that, and Bev comes in to smoke and is talking to him about how special he is and blah blah blah. He goes in for a kiss, and she's like, oh my gosh, you really think I'd be with someone like you, so disgusting and fat, and brah, surprise, I'm a monster. Head catches on fire, chases him down the hallway. He jumps into his locker, And you see this creepy poster of one of the new kids on the block in the background just smiling at him. And it cuts away for a sec to show you that his perspective, he's looking out the locker. And then it goes back to in the locker. And Pennywise is there behind him. And he turns and he does the whole kiss me, fat boy. But, Bill Skarsgård version, not Tim Curry. You'll all float down here. But, after he gets his thing, which he apparently already had in his wallet, he runs off. They all go back to the townhouse. And I forgot to mention the bully had gotten out during all this. The bully, who in the original, in part 1 they thought was dead, they show that he came back after they defeated Pennywise. Like, a whole bunch of dead bodies got flushed out of the sewer, and he got flushed out too and was still alive. He went home, but they saw that he was crazy, put him in a mental asylum, and then he notices the red balloon outside, and he's like, oh, yes, I can finally finish my work, which is to kill the Losers Club. And he even gets freed by one of his minions from the first movie, but his minion's a zombie now. And that's all Pennywise magic stuff. Gives him a knife, he gets out. And everybody gets back to the townhouse, and Eddie is washing himself up from leper vomit. And he closes the mirror, and then suddenly, oh, hey, it's the bully behind me, gets stabbed in the cheek. And he's starting to fall, and then he takes the knife out of his cheek and stabs the bully through a shower curtain. And the bully, I keep saying bully, I forget his name, but anyways, he gets away and later tries to attack Mike at the library, and while there, Richie tomahawks him in the back of the head, and the bully's dead. And he's like, that was long overdue. Get it? Because we're in a library, and I just killed a guy. Oh, my stomach's so weak. Paraphrasing, of course. That's what I do here. What was it? Bill gets a message at some point during all this that says that he won't be able to save the kid that has been interacting with the group. And he's like, the fair, I gotta go. He rushes to the fair to try and save the kid. They get into a hall of mirrors where the kid dies, sadly. Like right in front of Bill. He's trapped behind a wall of glass and he can't get to him, and Pennywise is just sitting there bashing his head against the mirror over and over and over again. And he shatters it and finally kills the kid, and it's like, I thought maybe he'd get away. But I should know he wouldn't have, because how this movie and the book and mini-series is what I meant to say, work. So Bill, now angry, decides, no, I'm going to go kill the clown right now. Yeah, runs off to the old abandoned house that they were at the first time. My computer has a pop-up. Go away, McAfee, you're a virus on your own. There we go. Anyways, and once he's there, the rest of the losers show up, and they're like, you're not doing this alone. We're all here to help. Yeah, and Mike's like, yeah, now we can perform the ritual of Chewed, which was in that whole Chippewa Indian thing. Which is why they were after all their MacGuffins. So they, sorry, I had to think for a second there. So they all go into the house, and they get separated, have some scares. Pennywise invisibly cuts into the fat kid in H and then finishes it home at last. But it goes away after Bev shatters a mirror where they can see Pennywise. Meanwhile, Richie, Bill, and Eddie are having to fight Stanley's head turned into a weird spider creature, which was really weird. And then Fat Kid bursts in and stabs Stanley's head a bunch of times, and it runs off. And they all get into this whole, "You could have let him die, I'm so mad, blah, blah, blah. I was scared, that's what he wants." You're right. Let's stop fighting. Let's band together and go back down there and finish this once and for all. So they all climb down and down the well again, and they find this little trapdoor where supposedly nobody knows what's beneath it. Sorry. But it is supposed to be the place where Pennywise first landed on Earth. So they climb down there, and you see this big, like, meteorite impact frozen looking thing. It's a pretty cool set piece, honestly. But they set this little artifact down in the center, and they all hold hands, and they light a fire, and they start burning their tokens individually. And they start doing this chant, and you see the deadlights show up, and they're spinning around, and they get sucked into the artifact. But before Mike can close the lid, something's pushing back. It's a big red balloon, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally, pop, and everybody goes flying and lose their hearing for a few seconds. Sorry about that. I think I'm coming down with something. Let me just get some water real quick. I'll likely edit that out. But then Pennywise shows up in this weird spider clown centaur looking thing. It's not as goofy as the original Spider, but it's still pretty bad. And he's all like, "Oh, Mike, you didn't tell them, did you? That the Chippewas all died when they tried to seal me last time, blah, blah, blah. You lied to us, Mike. I knew this would work. I knew if I told you anything about it, you'd all bail. Oh, no, Sherlock." Again, paraphrasing. So they get into this big, long, drawn-out fight with Pennywise. Everybody gets separated again at one point, and they each have to deal with their own fears. Bev gets locked in a bathroom stall in high school. It's, like, flooding with blood as, like, apparitions of her past are all trying to break in. They're like, "Oh, you're a slut. Oh, you smell like Lois Lane." And meanwhile, Fat Kid is being buried in Earth, and he manages to break through to Bev by finally telling her that he loves her and that he was the one that wrote the poem, and she breaks the bathroom stall and saves him, and they're all happy. Excuse me. Richie and Eddie get to the scary, not scary at all, very scary doors. And it's funny because at one point they were like talking about the true form of it. And Richie's like, "I hope it's a Pomeranian." What? And lo and behold, in one of those doors that they decide to look through, it's a little Pomeranian puppy sitting there, and they're like, "Oh no, I'm not falling for it." It's a pretty good, hilarious scene. But they end up running back out, and um, uh, oh yeah, Bill goes underwater at one point and has to deal with his own like inner demon thing that Pennywise summons. And it's like, oh, Bill, you weren't even really that sick that morning that your brother went missing. Blah, blah, blah. No, you were the best brother ever, little Bill. And he comes out and he's like talking at Pennywise, blah, blah, blah. And then Richie comes out and he throws a rock at Pennywise, and Pennywise just looks so done at this moment, and it's one of those weird things where you feel like this shouldn't be as funny a moment as it is, but he's just so done with dealing with Richie and everybody else. And Richie goes to throw a rock in the middle of swearing out Pennywise, and then Pennywise just deadlights him, and he's just blank-faced. Eddie saves him by using the iron bar from the original that was left in the front yard for all these years, in part 1 rather, that Bev gave him after saying it slays monsters if you believe it. He throws it through Pennywise's mouth, and Pennywise falls back onto a obsidian spire, rather. And it looks like he's dead, and they're all like, yeah, did we do it? I think we won. And Eddie's like, I did it. I killed the clown. Oh, hey, when did I get this tentacle in my stomach? Yep, turns out Pennywise isn't dead, stabs him through the stomach, and they're all sad, and they're like, we gotta make him smaller. Remember the entrance to this cavern? It was really small. If we go back there, he'll turn really small and we can kill it for real this time. And I'm just sitting here like, this doesn't make sense to me, because all these other times that you could have fought him, it didn't really matter. But anyways, this is the part that I have the biggest problem with. Yes, Pennywise is supposed to be this metaphysical thing that relies on the fears of others and what they perceive and blah blah blah. But they beat him with the power of bullying. I kid you not. They start calling him names based on what he was. You're a weak old lady. No, I'm not. You're a clown. You're a mimic. You don't have a real form. You're nothing. Stop it, guys. You're so mean. And it's the dumbest, absolute dumbest thing I have ever seen in a horror movie. And Richie's off with the dying Eddie, and then finally comes in to help bully Pennywise the rest of the way after he's shrunk down to about human size. He's still got the big spidery legs. And Richie rips off one of the legs, tosses it to the side, and starts saying, you're a clown, you're a clown. And he's like, no, stop it. He turns into this little, like, jellyfish clown face thing. And he's just sitting against the rock. And they're all, like, looking back and forth at each other. And Bill reaches in and pulls out the heart of Pennywise. And it's like doing that weird floaty blood thing, and they all put their hands around it, and Pennywise is like, look at you, all grown up, and they all just squeeze the heart to death. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because you guys just said the Deadlights were his real form, but you know, whatever, it's your movie, do what you want with it. And they killed Pennywise, by crushing his heart, and you see the deadlights fade out, and he becomes one with the Rock. Not Johnson. But they go back to Eddie, and Eddie's dead, and they're like, no, we could have saved him. There's still time. No, we gotta get out of here before this place comes down, because apparently Pennywise was the only thing keeping that place intact. They all make it out. They jump into the lake, river, whatever it was from part 1, and they're all like, Eddie would have hated this. What? Being in gross bacteria water from the sewer? Yeah, he would have told us we would have gotten stuff from it. Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, we're so sad that he's gone. Oh, power of friendship. Calm down, buddies. And then it shows them all off on their own, new lives. Mike's planning on going down to Florida. Bev is now on a boat with Fat Kid, and they seem to be married or maybe just dating, which doesn't make sense because Bev was married already, unless she got a divorce between that, but they didn't show it. Bill is writing a new book, and he's like, oh, I just got finished with the first chapter, and I think I know where I'm going with this one. Oh, good. You found out how to end your books properly. And then Richie goes and carves R plus E on the bridge, because apparently he did that when he was younger, and he remade it, because turns out he had feelings for Eddie. Isn't that sweet? You could totally feel it throughout the tension throughout both movies. But anyways, that's the whole movie. The 3-hour movie. And I still liked it. I hate the ending, which is why I feel like it's such a meta joke when they say, oh, the ending's terrible. But yeah, I'm gonna give this, I don't know, Fat Kid New Bod out of 10. Anyways, like and share if you enjoyed. Subscribe, become part of the Panda Party, because there ain't no party like a Panda Party, because a Panda Party don't stop. And I will see you guys in the next video. Later.